Well, welcome back to Mararthon Yuge. I'm Admin 1 of Any Effects, and we are on Admin Challenge 1. Let's see which level number. 49, Beloved Stuff. So, start with the reading of a terminal. Track is survival. I'm still the process that any browser's on. Douche Tower, waste time, I won. This is much better with goodies, but about BZ though. Yeah, it's Fat Sam. The game began for brief shout to different topics would feel like vituperator routine. I just needs me the exploded bobs are helping us. That's funny. It's hard to quit on the beginning. Oh, the universe. So I've basically gone back to a previous time system, which I do use for 30 minutes a day. I'm sure there'll be exceptions, but for the foreseeable future, that's what I'm going to do. With all that's been going on lately, that's just the most sensible option right now. But I have changed my time system before, of course, so that might well happen again. I just think this strikes the right balance between not neglecting other things and still keeping momentum with this playthrough. If I stick strictly to this playing rate, then sure, I won't have the game finished by the end of summer. But again, I imagine there'll come opportunities for me to change it up. Let's see where to go first. Snipe with fusion pistol. That sounds closer. Maybe it's this enemy up here. Well, anyway, I'm going to recharge. This use part definitely has you prioritize sniping. Point blank. Now to get that enemy. Alright. Yo mama's so fat, Joey asked her if she had a problem with her piak. I'm te ethnic one. I really hate that the douche towered me to that o'clock. It's not going to happen. Yeah, it might not happen. Hey, aren't you the one who was talking on that mic in that creepy voice? I'd literally become the game if I could. That's funny. Haha, aha. I will be meeting a girl tomorrow and giving her fudge. Initially by last I meant last map, but then I expanded it to last pack. Comrades wandering about. Well, they might be dangerous, so I'll just kill them. There we go. I sort of announced this in the Mararthon Discord, but I am looking into net maps for Mararthon Shader Void. I already have one in the pipeline that I sketched out on graph paper, and now it's just a matter of implementing it into Wayland. I've already begun transferring a solo map into Wayland from graph paper. One good thing that I could try with Shader Void Arena is seeing if I can somehow implement a co-op script or part of a co-op script that allows for respawning mid-game rather than restarting the game. Because that way you could have a more bona fide bot match. Again, Project Conflict by Radburn on the forums is what Shader Void is based off of. A really good bot match mod. And if I could get that kind of co-op script or co-op script feature working for solo play, that'll open up a lot of worlds. It would really take bot match and by extension Mararthon multiplayer in general to the next level. It's a good technique. Being just enough in its line of sight, but just in between its shots enough that the AI doesn't know that it should move to really hit you. Anyone else? Nope. Alright. Yeah, all things considered, depending on the whims of the capricious douche tower, I may not get my prize. I think he was joking when he implied that I didn't want my prize by completing this playthrough after the timer ran out, but you never really know with him. I've learned to take solace in the idea that finishing Yuge itself will be the prize. And anything anyone can offer me in return is just a bonus, really. Because in the end, there's one thing I've learned more and more over the past couple of years, is that you have to find peace in the journey. Otherwise, you'll be worse off, even if you get the prize, as opposed to if you don't properly relish the journey. Or, sorry, if you do properly relish the journey but don't get the prize. Anyone else? Oh shit, there's a bit of a delay there. That kind of startled me. Alright, I think there's just enough AR ammo left to deal with these bastards. Yep. Alright, we're out of here. Oh, this again, huh? Try it. Next terminal. Oh, great. Alright, I'm going to use that script again. And on we go. No? Maybe I just have to try at a different save point. Because maybe the script is accidentally putting the last enemies inside the pillar or something. I'll just see where else I can save. I'll try at the beginning. Here we go. Alright. Deactivate. Go back. Now let's see if I can escape. Yep, indeed work. You got the hills far out of Remember 9 of haunting. Sometimes something while working through huge changes. I kind of 100 games that anyone to aim, even less surprised. Sometimes wonder what it with actual games, other things to know since 2005. Aqua, you think okay, but divided against someone, and like I've been playing for life in a say, so it's some time. Like Hearts 2 wants to design in the body and changes when hosted the folder. It didn't know why. Seems cool while winding down to worry about while they're over the college chain owning organization that's the Fridays are the crowning moments for the recording. Cut and die. It's really say you just nicer than thresholds of. Okay. Level 50, interesting budget. Jason Thrift. BRB Explode Bobs are helping us. Spooky, our less good map. Yeah. Well, I've seen the second. You could get derailed if it written fiction, actually. Yes, I know. Alright, careful. Can't recall you didn't end for half late now, officially going level by level anymore. It was static, Catface. That alone, or were you later, Catface? They're also seeking other amusing logs, you getting millions. Alright. It looks like they're kind of taking care of themselves or each other for me. So hopefully that domino effect from the hunters has weakened the cyborg enough. Well, it's retreating. Shit. Another one. I didn't notice that at first. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, I'm alright. Where did that come from? That's an interesting feature of this huge part, the way that creatures can kind of slip through the cracks there like that. It's one thing that they could fire through, but I don't see why they could fit through if I can't. The 4 troopers seem like they're a bit fatter than the player. Or maybe not fat, just wider. The suits seem to take up more space. Alright. That was needed. Now, talking a bit about shader voids some more. Because today is my day off, I did end up spending 30 minutes on another game, specifically making for another game. We'll see more in a bit later. Did you just see this thing about a man planning a homemade rocket space voyage to prove Earth is flat? That's funny. I can't wait until I eventually have my own computer and can host. I wonder how spooky's been. The only problem with it is that since I arrived, there are some noob named Neoptol and has started sending spam mail to me. That's not shooting after all. Damn, everything was better with MariusNet. Will you be doing anything for it? I have also been writing music without listening to it. Anyway, what I was getting at is that even though Shader Void is heavily inspired by Wolfenstein 3D in terms of structure and the type of enemies and everything, it is very interesting how the dynamic between the two games is changed because of the difference in AI and engine. Since I recently got an older Macintosh, I've been fiddling around with the Mac version of Wolfenstein 3D and, for that matter, Wolf Edit, the level editor for that, which, funnily enough, I might even find better than the game itself, as great as it is, just because I love being able to make worlds like that. One interesting thing about Wolfenstein 3D, the Mac and PC version, pretty much every version, is that the enemies always take a direct line towards you. And that ends up working pretty well for the comparatively flat, primitive structure of the game, being that it's all flat with no ceiling or floor height variation. Because you can't ever see that they're following the most direct line towards you, even when it looks stupid, because you can't see them while they're being stupid for that. But you can also easily manipulate the environment to the designer's advantage. For example, while it is easy in many rooms in Wolfenstein 3D to cheese fights by simply opening the door to a room, firing a shot, and waiting for any enemies to come towards you, where you can pick them off one by one. Oftentimes, for one thing, the enemies can be designed as ambush, meaning that sometimes they're referred to as deaf enemies, where they will not activate unless you're in their range of sight. So it is basically like ambush. That helps avoid any cheesing of fights. But for another thing, you could design the room with enough obstacles that even as they're taking the most direct line towards you, they never really just keep running up against the obstacles and not getting towards you, thereby requiring you, the player, to actually go out into the room and engage with the enemies. So their direct predictability can be used to your advantage. In contrast, when designing maps for Shader Void, you don't have that. In fact, in my experience, when I was making the map What We Do Is Secret, the first ever Shader Void map, and only one so far that isn't the intro, I found that deaf slash ambush enemies don't work as well in the Mararthon engine, because you don't just have to be in their line of sight, you have to be more directly in front of them. So you could basically slaughter an enemy's friends right in front of it, but unless you're like directly in front of it, it just won't register unless you shoot it. But that's generally not how it should be. So I've found in designing maps for Shader Void, and by extension Mararthon, the way that you basically strategize how enemies will act is through zone borders and monster impassable zones. Those are options you don't have in Wolfenstein. In Wolfenstein, if you want something like monster impassable zones, you just have to use straight up obstacles, which means that the player, of course, can't get past them either. And with zone borders, it's basically like ranges of hearing for enemies. So sections divided by zone borders will have enemies that don't respond to attacks in the adjacent section. Because it's important to realize that sound zones in Wolfenstein are by default divided by rooms, which are sectioned off by doors. So if you have two rooms separated by a door, that means they're registered as two different sections in the game. It's not as absolute in Mararthon. Mararthon seems to go more by general range of sound regardless of doors, which for the Mararthon engine are basically platforms that are configured a certain way. So you could fire off in one room and have a bunch of enemies in adjacent rooms come out when you had intended for them to stay put and not activate until the player enters the room. I found this out in early trial runs of Shader Void, where entire designs of rooms were kind of wasted because all the enemies in that room wouldn't stay put. They would come out into the main room, so a lot of the combat got funneled into the beginning of the level. But after I figured out how to use monster impassable zones and zone borders correctly, that helped matters. In short, while Mararthon involves greater detail and the responsibility to get enemies to work the way you want, there is an advantage to it that makes it kind of worthwhile. Even if in the end, of course, as you know, I still love Wolf 3D a lot, specifically the Mac version. There we go. That hunter's pretty formidable. Oh yeah, you just use the flamethrower here. Wow, this is probably the most detailed fight I've had in this huge part ever. Snipe. I love the great huge doors. Feels like I'm hunting or something. Sniping at trooper with a scope like that. Uh-oh. I'll just recharge up here. It's occurred to me that Adminn challenge could get pretty stupidly cruel at some point in later sub-PX. Wouldn't surprise me if Douche Tower made a sub-PX of it that was like 0 health, 0 save points. Just something totally unreasonable. Anyway, though, I did enjoy my time on Wolf Edit today, making something for Mac Wolf 3D. When and if a sufficiently identical version of that game ends up on one of these ports like EC Wolf, probably EC Wolf if anything, then I could really start bringing it to the people. It won't be so limited to a obscure format, obscure medium. May as well recharge and save while I'm at it, because I don't know what might be waiting for me at the end. I definitely don't want to go through all this again. I've also been pondering the overall niche of each of the basic Wolfenstein enemies. The basic brown guards are the only ones that, to my mind, don't have a niche outside of a purely psychological one, in terms of how you can manipulate or influence the player by including them, and whatever way you do that. I'll continue after this. Bit of conservative seam to the folder. It can go into to send PMs and something for lemon meringue pie right after another marathon. Ha, have a job. Well, it's pretty fat. Hi, Windbreaker. First you, John, and I'm talking about before. People still working on that. It is the tide. Both pretty cool. Wish I improved because the cheese off and Ernie. Last one game and massaging my marathon-related site can't host. Would be immune to design a bizarre compilation album called XBLA. Apparently that's fine. I posted on EMFH. Is interesting game types. We play our far height variation of some simian food holes. Because I lose points for once again disappoint. That be as Vox Day song. 51 Intrepid menu. It looks like I'm already almost out of time for the day. 2 levels of day, that's... yeah, it's pretty bad, huh? But thanks for watching anyway. I'll see you next time, and maybe at some point in the near future I can increase the rate again. and I'll continue my thoughts that I left off on next time. See you.